The 5 keys to success for Rutgers Scarlet Knights football in 2025. What are these 5 keys to success so that Rutgers can have a winning record, be competitive in the Big Ten, and ultimately maybe even challenge for a college football playoff spot? We're going to start at number 5. And since Gabe started out with his updates today, why don't you start out with your number 5?
Well, my number 6 is that it's spelled Cancun, Cancun, not Kokan. Although that might be another place that I don't know about. That's my number 6.
So these vicious insults towards Gabe Pickup and you championing a 0-star offensive lineman.
All right. I thought you were going to say -1. I thought it was just going to keep going down.
I thought about it, but I figured 0 was a good place to stay.
All right. So my number 5 key for success, right? And Austin, I love you, buddy. I'm just joking. My number 5 key is...
I'll try to compensate.
It's a bit ironic, right? My number 5 key is ignorance. Ignore what the hell the bookies are saying because you will be underdogs almost every week. And realistically, you got 3 or 4 teams that you're going to be favored against. So ignore what the hell the bookies are saying. Ignore what these reporters are saying. And just channel the inner greatness that got you to playing college football and be on that team level, and you might just be okay.
Yeah, that's always so important. I remember Nick Saban, when I was going to Alabama, Nick Saban would say this constantly: forget the external factors and focus on what you can control. Forget what the media is saying, how good you are, how not good you are, how you're going to lose, you're not going to lose. You got to focus on what you can control. And when you do that, that's when you're truly focused. So that's a good start there. My number 5 is first down success. I think that Rutgers, to be successful 65 to 75% of the time, I want to see them getting 4+ yards on first down because that enables them to be versatile in their play selection on second and third down. It doesn't get them into predictable situations because I don't think Rutgers has the talent to be able to compensate for those third and longs, second and longs. So what I'd like to see is a lot of 2nd and 5s and 2nd and 6s. That's going to open up the offense. It's going to make us less predictable. And I think that's going to bring out the talent because of the ability to call plays to keep the defense, on its toes. So first down success for me is a big thing in 2025.
That's a great point because I will tell you, my number 1 most irritable thing I witnessed out of my New York Jets last season was the play calling of Coach Robert Saleh on first down. It was always just a handoff to the middle, and it was predictable, especially in the AFC East where you have this meat on the inside and these killer linebackers. And every single time it would get a yard or 2, maybe lose a couple of yards. And that would set the tone for the entire game. The good thing is this kind of segues into my number 4 key to success here. And if we want to be successful in first down, you know how we do it? We get more than 3 or 4 yards by being effective in the passing game, and not just effective, but effectively distributing the ball to our different options. We have a lot more weapons this year, in my opinion. Last year, we had like 2 or 3 that were effective. You could really say 2 because Christian Dremel is more of like a versatile hybrid kind of guy than strictly a receiver. But this year, we have Colin Weber. We just got him as a tight end, number 9 transfer tight end in the nation. We got Campbell up the middle as our running back, and he's a hybrid back, so he likes to catch the ball. Ben Black, who is an up-and-coming stud at receiver. I believe he's wide receiver 3 on the outside, but 4 overall with DT Sheffield. Speaking of DT Sheffield, he's one of the – I'll make the argument. He's like a top 10, maybe top 5 transfer receiver. So he's going to be a stud. And then obviously we have Strong and Duff who come back to the school. And that's a lot of weapons to have distributing to. So that's what we need to do is we can't feel happy chucking to 1 or 2 guys. We need to spread the wealth. And that's how you get effective yards on first down is not just relying on the running game because everyone loves to just run the ball on first down, get a couple yards. But if you want those first downs to be consistent, you have to pass the ball on first down too.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's going to be critical to see how the offensive coordinator calls those pass plays. All right. We've got to have really strategic play calling, great routes. The receivers have to run those routes, perfectly. And most importantly, the timing has to be there. And I think with the time that Ethan has had with his receivers, it's going to be there. So that's a really good point. For me, number 4 was to be in the plus category on turnover margin. I think one of the things that hurt us tremendously last year was losing a turnover battle in critical games. For example, against Nebraska, that 14-7 loss where we had a couple turnovers and lost the turnover battle really, really hurt us. And I think that's also the case, as we saw against Wisconsin. Now, I'm not sure if we were negative in the turnover battle there, but I do believe we had a couple turnovers. Yeah. Well, again, it comes back to when you're a team like Rutgers that has a lot of talent, but that doesn't have talent on the level of Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, you cannot afford any mistakes. You can't afford to have a no gain on first down. You can't afford to lose a turnover battle. You got to have polish. And if they have that polish, that's what's going to make them more competitive against those teams. So turnover margin for me sits at number 4.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially, talking about the talent, not distribution, the talent differential between us and one of those contending schools. And that's really key on why you need to limit the turnovers. My number 3 is a running game that can prove to be effective when needed. We have Antoine Raymond, who is a power back, and depending on the website, they'll list him as our RB1, but CJ Campbell is technically the RB1 as of this moment. And he's a hybrid back. So the thing is, he'll be there to get the ball on the backfield too, Raymond here and there, but Raymond's especially going to be up the middle on those 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, those 2nd and 6s. And that's the opportunity, I think, to really push the ball down the field and make sure that Callie McManus isn't always the one that has the pressure. And I think that they can be effective, but they need to be effective in those crucial moments in the fourth quarter, up 3 with 2 minutes left at your opponent's 38, 3rd and 3. That's the opportunity I think we need to convert.
Yeah, that's critical. A very good point. I think we have a stable of running backs this year with C.J. Campbell, Antoine Raymond, and Jashawn Benjamin, that what we can do is we can spread out the carries a bit and keep those running backs fresh. And with a 3-pronged attack, that's something that we didn't have last year. Last year was all Kyle Mononga, and as great as he was, it did make us somewhat predictable. And against great teams, that's going to hurt you. So I like that. I've got, for number 3, I've got win 4 out of the 5 plays that ultimately decide a game against great competition. As you'll see against really good teams, it's typically about 5 plays, 5 critical plays that decide the game. You saw that with Georgia and Notre Dame last year. For example, the kickoff return that Georgia allowed, the fumble that Georgia had deep in Notre Dame's territory. These plays really make the difference between winning and losing. Rutgers hasn't been winning those 5 plays that decide a game. And Nebraska was a perfect example where they had the ball 1st and goal to 3 and couldn't punch it in on 4 plays. So in addition, to having first down success, having positive turnover margin, though doing all those little things to be polished and not make errors, they've got to win 4 of those 5 plays. If they do that, we would have beaten Nebraska last year and we would have beaten Illinois. So that's a key for me.
Yeah. And it really we haven't been winning those plays for several years now. So we need to change something when it comes to those clutch moments or those key points. And I think that can lean into, having the effective running game when needed or being effective at distributing the ball and passing. But
yeah, I think when it comes down to those 5 plays, my message to the team would be do your job. Every single person focus on that one play, having a life and history of its own. Do your job.
Do your job, do it well. You know why you're there. You know why you have the chance at making some money, not just in the league, but in college too.
Right.
So my number 2 point to success is we signed all these guys, right, from James Madison, et cetera, at least in the interior D linemen. And we don't know how they'll translate from those schools to Big Ten play. And my number 2 is actually the defensive linemen need to be effective at rushing the passer, because we don't know how they'll translate. We do know their numbers are impressive. Doug Blue Eli, for example, James O'Neill, or Eric O'Neill, rather. I was getting his school and his name confused. These guys need to be the same level of effectiveness, if not more effective, at rushing these quarterbacks like, for example, like whoever's. I think there's still a battle going on at Ohio State. Whoever wins that battle, because no matter who wins, they're going to look like the best quarterback in the division outside of your guy up at Penn State, Drew Aller. And Drew Aller, for example, too. We're facing Oregon this year. We need these guys, these quarterbacks, to feel the pressure of our interior linemen and not just relying on blitzes. Because if we rely on blitzing too much, all of a sudden it's not fair to our defensive secondary.
Totally agree with you. I mean, look at the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. 4 down linemen created havoc for the Chiefs and, for Patrick Mahomes. Now, we need to have 4 down linemen that are going to disrupt the quarterback. I don't care about sacks. I care about, are you disrupting the quarterback's timing and creating havoc for that offense? Because once you start relying on blitzes, what do you get? You get the play against Illinois where you had somebody wide open in the middle of the field and the game is lost. You can't leave your defenders vulnerable like that. Yeah. So I think that's a great point.
And I'm not saying get rid of blitzes completely. I'm just saying that we don't need to use them as much as a lot of other programs if our interior lineman is stacked up enough.
Oh, yeah. I mean, blitzes are great when they're used strategically, but when you're using blitzes to compensate for deficiencies on the D-line, it ain't going to be helpful.
And our linebackers are too good to be blitzing the quarterback anyways.
All right. I agree. So, yeah, good point. My number 2 is Rutgers has to win the time of possession battle in every game. And the reason is because the defense is still going to have some issues with depth. They're going to have some issues with cohesiveness because we do have a lot of transfers coming in. We can't keep them on the field that long. If they're going to be on the field for 80-plus plays, we're going to lose, both because of fatigue and because I don't think our defense is good enough to repeatedly stop Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. So winning that time of possession battle is key. And to do that, you got to have long, sustained drives, and you got to win that turnover battle. And if you can do that, that's going to mitigate or minimize, what the offenses do in terms of damaging plays. Because, I mean, we know Penn State's going to score points. We know Oregon's going to score points. We know Ohio State's going to score points. But if you win the turnover battle and you do it substantially, maybe Ohio State gets 27 points instead of 40 points, and that can make the difference in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who's really good at controlling the ball? Kyle Monangai. So kind of sucks that we're losing him in the backfield. He was really good at getting first downs on 3 plays. Not 1 or 2 plays, but 3 plays, extending the clock. But it's okay. I'm sure. It's a new opportunity, not just a loss. I learned that that's what NO stands for, is not no, but new opportunity. So my number 1, though, key to success is for our guy Cam Miller to be a superstar. Because we need that defensive secondary to be throwing to one guy and one guy only, and that is not Cam Miller. It is Jacoby Henderson or Bo Masco, because Jacoby's listed as the nickelback, but I have a feeling that Bo Masco is going to be out there a lot at corner.
True.
Really, just whoever Cam Miller is guarding, because he's going to be guarding the other team's number 1 receiver every time, going to be man on man. Whoever he's guarding cannot get the ball thrown to, because I think Cam Miller is really that good. So I think that's my number 1 key, is we got to make the opponent's passing game one-dimensional. And if that happens, then we're going to have a damn good secondary.
Yeah, and we're going to make them one-dimensional if we really can create havoc on the defensive line, stop the run game, make sure that the first down success rate of the opponent is about 25 to 30%. And then with that secondary, we give them the freedom to, instead of blitzing, we can drop 7 or 8, and then that's going to create a problem for opposing offenses. My number 1 is a very simple one, and it's called mindset. Rutgers has to believe that they can compete and win in Columbus, home against Oregon, home against Penn State, because, Rutgers, I think in their second game or third game, plays Norfolk State. They need to go into that Ohio State game in Columbus, the Oregon and Penn State games, with the same mindset that they go into against Norfolk State, that we can win, that this team can compete with the best teams in the country. Because if they don't have that mindset, it doesn't matter if the 4 other keys that I listed are met, they're still going to lose. So mindset is going to be the key to building a championship culture and a championship team.
It's a key and it's a necessity. I can't disagree. I can't agree with you more, Adam. If they go in every week thinking that they're favored, then we're going to win 2 or 3 games this year. It's got to be that underdog mindset that, like I said, you can embrace the underdog mindset without thinking you're going to lose. And that's what I think separates us this year.